Hey everyone, so in this little example we want to make this little wind guy dance. So you might remember those advertising funny thingies that have faces, because it's a good little funny little test to work with cloth and forces. So first we have of course to turn this guy into a cloth simulation with a normal vellum cloth. We don't need much more right now. And then we put in a Vellum solver. And first let's try if this whole thing works. Of course we have to enable the ground plane and hopefully he should implode. Yep, that looks pretty good. So we can later change the settings, but at least that worked pretty easy as you can see. And now let's play around with the forces. So the forces we find in the dive target. So double click on the Vellum solver and there we can add, let's say, a pop force. And let's use the force that we already have here because we have a directional force and a noise. So let's increase the amplitude of the noise and let's say we increase the force as well to, let's say 7. Let's see what happens. It's not enough, so he still falls down, of course, because the acceleration down is roughly 10, so 9.81. But we can try, we have to kind of counteract this, so let's try 10. That looks better. We're getting closer to what we're after. The only problem now is, and you may be not able to see that, is he just flies away. The way to fix that, of course, is to make sure that he's pinned. So let's create a group, which ideally is a point group. Let's call this bottom. And then we do it based on the bounding area. And we say the lower part is static. And we just choose that in our vellum cloth. Under pinpoints, there is our group bottom. And while we add it, let's make the whole thing a bit more bendy by lowering the bend stiffness. And let's see what we get. And that's not too bad. So he still falls down. So let's make sure we increase the force upwards. Keep in mind, of course, that you can always also lower the gravity. In this case, that would work because we have nothing else. Of course, that's a fake, but most of the things we do is so this is definitely an option. But for now, let's keep that intact and try to just increase the upwards force. And that's a bit too strong. So let's try it 11. And that's not too bad, I think. Let's go outside. And of course, you know, this is just really quickly showing you that you can do something like that rather easily. Of course, you can play around with the settings to make it a bit better, make it more stiff, less stiff, whatever you want. But this is just showing you that this is possible. Funnily enough, he turns around, and that is because I think the amplitude of my noise is a bit too high. So let's lower this. Yeah, not too bad. So let me see if I can do a play blast and make a couple of adjustments, and then I show you what I got. So here we go. This is what I have. And yeah, it's a funny little dancing guy. Of course, your versions will be different. But just to show how easy it is to do something like that with very few notes. So the only thing I changed here really in the pop force is I made the amplitude back to a 1. And one thing that's really helpful is to change the swirl scale on X and Z to 0 so that the most of the noise is happening on the Y axis. That really helped a lot. And then I changed the pulse length to 0.5, which simply means that the change of the noise, which is moving in space, which I should be able to show you with the guide, but for some reason it doesn't show up. Oh, there it is. So this is actually changing. If I run this, you can see it's changing. And with shortening the pulse length, that means I'm just speeding up the noise. So if I would increase that again to 2, you can see that it's much slower now, the whole change. And if I lower it to something really low, like 0.1, then it will be very fast, as you can see. So this is a pretty important parameter, and this is basically what I changed. to get our little guy here under control. And yeah, so play around with this. And of course, you can combine this with all kinds of forces to create some maybe more interesting behavior. But for a simple dancing wind guy, this is really all you need. So just a little fun example. And I hope this was helpful. Thanks very much and see you later. Cheers.